morning, everybody. My name is David Perry, and I am the co-author of Guerrilla Marketing for Job Hunters, Guerrilla Marketing for Job Hunters 2.0, and now Guerrilla Marketing for Job Hunters 3.0. I am sitting in the living room of Darryl Praill, and I'm doing that specifically because Darryl was one of the stars in Guerrilla Marketing for Job Hunters 2.0. And I want you to meet him, and I want him to tell you his story about how we ended up working together and how he managed to get 18 interviews, 11 callbacks, and 7 offers in a city where unemployment had suddenly become 65% in his sector. And then we're going to talk about some other exciting stuff. Darryl.
Over to me.
Pressure's on.
Pressure's on. I'm glad I'm not stage fright. There you go.
And you can tell the whole truth.
To the whole... I will not tell that I bribed anybody. No, it was actually very straightforward. In a nutshell, the situation was that I'd been recruited, ironically, by David to go to this company that was in the public safety space. So if you can imagine post 9/11, the years that followed that became a very hot space. I went and we had a mandate to flip that company. About 3 years, we did it in 9 months. We took a number 3 company in the space. We took them to number 1 in that time.
So I always say worst to first. But
worst to first.
That's just me.
Number 3 to number 1. Worst to first is better. He's a better marketer than I am. And we flipped him for a multiple that was unheard of at the time. And that's exciting, you think, right? Yes. Well, when we were acquired, the belief was that we were supposed to stay on, the management team, which I was part of. And a few months later, of course, that didn't happen. The classic, we got let go.
Your reward was? My
reward was, here's a handshake, get out of here, and by the way, we're not going to pay you any severance. So that was a classic situation. As you might imagine on a personal level, not only did you not see it coming when you even assured it wasn't going to happen, then, as I said, there was also no severance. And while that took a few years to litigate, you're left in a situation where how do you pay the bills and provide for the family? So we actually worked our own networks for the first couple of days, and we reached out to a lot of people that we knew, and we said, who are the people who could use our services? And in the course of doing that, and these are all just informal conversations, emails, social media outreach, LinkedIn, etc. And we got a short list back of less than 20 companies that were probably really hot for us, or at least should be hot for us, candidates for our services. And from that, we then started making some guerrilla marketing campaigns. We knew we needed a website, quick and dirty. None of us were webmasters. We're not graphic designers. But we were able to figure it out on the cheap, on the fly, pretty fast. So, you bought a web domain, that was 20 bucks a year, right? Some hosting services was about 10 or 15 bucks a month. Pretty straightforward. And we made a pretty basic but effective site. And then we thought, how do we get these people's attention? And that's really the trick to any kind of job hunter. How do you get their attention? And for us, we had a spiel which was fundamentally, let us buy you a coffee. We knew we were good in the interview. We were credible. We could, if they took time to see what we knew and how we could affect their business, that we would garner their interest. So what we did was we had the shtick, which was, let's meet for coffee. And that was our whole goal. And that was the genesis of what you see in the Guerrilla Marketing for Job Hunters, which is the coffee caper. That was David's term, not mine, but I think a very appropriate term.
Well, because it was originally a Tim Hortons coffee cup.
And that's what it was. And so the story, let me say the backdrop, what we did to the whole strategy, and then I'll give you some of the stumbling blocks to actually doing it, which was we had this belief that if we just use some guerrilla marketing tactics, we would stand out from the crowd, because most people, especially those people in Nortel have been there for 10, 20 or more years. The world changed. They had no idea how to look for a job, and that was going.
Oh yeah, and the resumes that they had done for them by the application, they all looked exactly. They looked the same. Cut the head off, put another name on it, and you'd never know who it was. You never know who it was.
And so we had a chance to stand out. So what we decided we would do is put together a multi-dimensional mailer. That's a marketing term, meaning it's not flat, it's not two-dimensional.
Lump email.
Lump email. Good point.
Lump email.
And the second thing we had to overcome was how to get that multi-dimensional mailer in the hands of the people we wanted to talk to. The people we wanted to talk to was the CEO. Not the head of HR, not the head of a department. We wanted to talk to the CEO. And at that point, if the CEO referred us to HR, the head of the department, we were fine, because then we were sponsored. But we had lofty ambitions, and as you know, getting in front of the CEO can be a challenge, especially for a hiring position. So with that said, that's the obstacle we had to overcome, and so this is what we did. We actually looked at each of these 20 odd companies, and we we looked at what we thought their strengths and weaknesses were. Notice not just weaknesses, but strengths. And that'll come back to play in a minute. Then what we did was we actually created a handwritten note to each CEO where we would say, we see you're doing well here, the strength, but we notice you're doing not as well there. And then we would get cheeky, because what we did secondarily, if I diverge for a second, is we wanted to monitor the success of our campaign when it went out in real time. So for each one of these campaigns, we created a landing page, and you're going to see how this all plays out in a second. So we created a separate landing page. In our case, we made subdomains. So subdomain, instead of it being abc.com, would be hireme@abc.com. That's a subdomain. And we made a unique landing page for each target. And the landing page might be, you know, welcome, David. Glad you liked the parcel I sent you. I really think that abc.com needs to hire us, and this is why. Click here to learn more. So that's the landing page. You notice it's personalized. He's not expecting that. And it's going to speak to some of the things that only someone who took time to get familiar with this company would know. He's not expecting that. It's not a generic landing page. So in that cheeky little personal handwritten letter, we said, you know, hi David, I like ABC what you're doing here, but I think ABC could do more here. Learn how by going to youshouldhireme.mycompany.com. Or ABC should hire me.mycompany.com. So again, a custom URL, custom web address. So that was in the letter. The letter was, the intent then was that we would go one step further, we would stand out. So we took pictures of us on a normal wall backdrop, and you would see me doing this. And literally you see me, I'm not holding up anything right now.
Yep.
But I took this picture exactly as you see here. And then we had a master picture. And we needed to have some fun with that. So, but we didn't want to waste money, so we went and found some good paint software. A popular package is GIMP, also Paint.net. We used Paint.net at the time, and we literally imported this picture off our memory card. And we put a white rectangular block. It doesn't get any more simple.
Guerrillas do stuff for free.
Free. It's always about free, because you never know when you're going to need that money. Like, for example, all those meetings you're going to have, you got to pay for the coffee. So on that white block, I would say literally, thanks, Mr. CEO. ABC.com. I'm sorry. ABC needs to hire me at me.com. You know, again, I'm giving the web address of the landing page. It was a kitschy, tongue-in-cheek landing page URL, so it would stand out. Then I took all those, and we went to a very large department store, and we printed them off in a 4x6 glossy photograph for 29 cents each. So now we have the letter, we have the photograph. Right, we have the unique landing page, and then we thought, you know, our shtick is a coffee. The whole idea is to meet for a coffee. And one thing I should have said is, in that letter and on the landing page, I also had text that said, let's meet for coffee. It's on us.
Yeah.
That was the catch. So, as you said, Tim Hortons. So now in my mind, I want him to know I'm serious. So I was going to buy a $2 coupon, coffee for him, coffee for me, at, you know, a local national coffee chain. In this case, we start with Tim Hortons. We're in Canada. It's the major chain. Everybody knows Timmy's. So this is the challenge. Buying a coffee coupon, not a problem. That was easy. But wrapping all these pieces up, how do you do that? My goal was to actually put it in a Tim Hortons branded coffee cup. So here's the coffee cup. Here's the lid. Here's the personal invite handwritten. Here's a cute 4x6 color photograph, and here's a coffee coupon to show you I'm serious. But now I need to get this past the gatekeeper, usually the executive assistant, etc. Right? So how do I do that? And this is multidimensional. That's how we began. That was our whole strategy. I went and I found a 6" by 6" by 6", a 6" cube box, and I put everything in it. And why I went that route was because, you know, fundamentally we're so used to getting an envelope, a FedEx envelope, for example. It's, you know, the gatekeeper opens that, and no one, it's not a big deal anymore. But when you send something that's large and beefy, the gatekeeper will actually go, I don't know what this is different. And they're going to walk it into the CEO and say, open it. I don't know what that is. And that's what they're going to do. So we did this. But again, we're cheap, full circle of cheap here. So what we did was we We went and got a courier, a major courier, and paid for 2-day delivery, not 1-day delivery, because it was much cheaper. And we FedExed this box to all of our targets.
Now, how did you know that they had gotten the package?
Well, that's the 2 things I mentioned I want to be able to monitor this. There's 2 things we were able to monitor. One was we were able to monitor when the boxes were delivered. So we knew through the online tracking when the box was delivered.
So you get a ping on your email.
Get a ping, check periodically, and okay, the game is afoot. It has arrived. It should be happening in a couple hours now. And then you sit back and you watch the traffic on your landing pages. Google Analytics is free. Most web hosting providers give you free basic analytics. So when you watch the visitor count go from 1, because I had to test it, I was the first visitor, to 2,
you got a hit.
Somebody's been to your page.
Yep.
And the only way they can go to your page is if they open this up and found it. But what's even more interesting is when it goes from 2 to 3, and 3 to 4, and 4 to 5. And all of a sudden, you've...
And you got 8 the first day, right?
Yeah, we did. Yeah. And it was amazing because you're going, wow. Now, in that final note in that letter, I did follow it up with a, kind of a PS. I will call you upon receipt of this package. I set an expectation. So sure enough, I called them once I knew we started getting hits. And they were like, oh wow, I was just on your page.
Where's the camera?
It's unbelievable. And that's what really got us through to the CEO and got us a huge volume of meetings. And from there, then it was just a matter of having good presentation and interviewing skills.
Now, we did a whole bunch of other things at the same time. I think there were 10 or 11 of them. That was a component of it, but that was very, very successful.
Yep. But
you also built a website, and you found a designer who essentially you spent Guerrilla bucks, which is free.
Yeah.
He did it because he knew he was going to get business out of you eventually. And we used LinkedIn and Zoom Info, and we did the newspaper article because we did the press release, and then we did the seminar, and people came to the seminar. Yep. There was a whole pile of stuff that all happened at the same time.
And that's the big thing, which was hitting them for credibility, right? So the designer, most people say, well, I don't have Guerrilla bucks, right? Well, what I did with the designer, this is something I'd worked with before, and I used to use them when I was employed. And as you said, they knew that once I got employed again, they'd get more business from me. But still, they're busy. And they have clients too. So it's a bit of you gotta be patient. And what I said to make it interesting to them was I said, whatever it is you want to experiment with, a new technology, a new design, a new theory, whatever, do it on me. I'll be your guinea pig.
Well, that's where the DarrylPraill.com
That's where DarrylPraill.com came from, right? And then the seminar stuff too was talking about Guerrilla, and this was actually your idea, which I thought was fantastic. Because you have to give him some credit once in a while. He's fragile. But the seminar idea was, we'd just taken this company from, as you said, worst to first in 9 months, not 3 years. We had a really good team, and then we got canned. So let's do a seminar about lessons learned.
And wasn't it? Sorry, I digress. But the first time we tried to do it, we got shut down because the company didn't want us to do it, and that just drove publicity.
That's right. Their lawyers sent us a nice little letter that said they don't want us to do it. And so, of course, we went to the press and said, look, can you believe that? So, and for give us some context, we pushed the buttons we could. And so, if you're not a Canadian citizen, don't be offended. But this is the button we pushed. We are Canadian, and the people who acquired our company at the time were American. So Canadians as a whole sometimes have a bit of a complex about being in the shadow of the U.S. So what we did was push the button. Yeah. Look at this, the Americans came in and got this phenomenally successful Canadian company and let us go. Yeah. And now they won't even let us talk about it. And so we did play some of the levers.
Well, you play the cards you're dealt, man.
You play the cards you're dealt.
Darryl, thank you very much.
No problem.